Hi, my name is Seth Meyer. Today I'm going to be talking to you about the facts behind the gun control and gun rights debate. People have always disputed the idea of safety versus security when it comes to firearms. On the one side you have the gun control activists, on the other side you have the gun rights activists. They dispute over whether or not private ownership and or possession of firearms should be restricted by the government at any level. The debate over gun ownership is centered on the Second Amendment to the Constitution, which protects the right to bear arms. There has been different interpretations of its meaning, causing one of the lengthiest in-depth debates in our nation's history to date. Many questions have been raised on both sides, such as, does gun ownership cause or prevent crime? How should one interpret the Second Amendment? Is self-defense a basic individual right to weapons, and does the government have the right to regulate these weapons? I will be giving you some information from both sides of this important debate. With this information, you will be able to form your own opinions and choose which side of this significant issue you support. One of the major debates that stems from the gun rights versus gun control question is whether lower crime rates and gun ownership share a connection. The number of lives lost versus the number of lives saved due to people with arms. John Lott, author of More Guns, Less Crime, says yes. He compiled and compared data from all counties across the United States and found that those who actually carry guns are less susceptible to crime. He has been challenged by many scholars across the country who debate the inaccuracy of his findings. Dr. Gary Kleck, he's a criminologist from Florida State University, estimated that approximately 2.5 million people a year use their gun in self-defense. Most of these incidents did not involve the firing of a gun. Simply the displaying of the weapon to a criminal was enough to deter any criminal activities. David Hedenway argues that Dr. Kleck's estimates are a little bit too high. He did his own study on that, and he said that he thinks that number is actually quite lower. The review of the policies of other countries has been used to argue each side's case as well. For example, Israel, Canada, and Switzerland have low homicide rates and high rates of gun distribution. However, Dr. Kleck, who is actually a very strong supporter of gun rights, has stated cross-national comparisons do not provide a sound basis for assessing the impact of gun ownership levels on crime rates. Being a gun rights lobbyist himself, it's interesting to hear him say that. Position taken by many personal gun rights advocates is the armed citizens are the population's last line of defense against tyranny by their own government, which some believe was the main purpose of the Second Amendment. Critics of the security against tyranny argument argue that replacing elected officials by voting is actually sufficient means to keep the government in line. Critics of the security against tyranny argument also bring up the Battle of Athens in 1946 as an example of dire circumstances when diplomatic avenues have been exhausted. Strong evidence has shown that an unarmed population as being a strong deterrent against both foreign invasions and the rise and retention of power of tyrants. Adolf Hitler stated on April 11, 1942, the most foolish mistake we could possibly make would be to permit the conquered Eastern peoples to have arms. History teaches that all conquerors who have allowed their subject races to carry arms have prepared their own downfall by doing so. Another example would be Japan's refusal to invade the western coast of the United States during the Pacific War. One Japanese admiral was quoted as saying, "We knew that your country actually had state championships for private citizens shooting military rifles. We were not fools to set foot in such quicksand." So this just goes to show, there are two examples anyway, that a foreign power would be less likely to invade in the event that you did have an armed populace. However, other quotes and facts have shown the exact opposite. As you can see, this is a topic that has been debated for quite some time. Each side has some very strong points. However, it seems that almost every valid point brought up on one side is countered by an equally strong point from the other. I pointed out some issues from the interpretation of the Constitution, as well as some undeniable facts and quotes from throughout history. I gave you the opinions of well-educated individuals respected in their fields. The responsibility now falls on each of you, given the facts, to decide for yourselves which side of this debate you will support. Thank you very much.